Hello everyone. Welcome to today's video, where you'll be the judge for the stories we bring for you. Case 1. AITA for letting you know I am divorcing you by sending you a thread on the website that you used to ignore me. Hi Stefan. Maybe you will finally listen. And if you're wondering if you can just speed home and stop me from doing this and leaving, it's too late. I'm sending you this after I've already loaded everything in the car and left. Don't worry. I spoke with our landlords and took my name off the lease. I've set up a direct deposit for the next month's rent. After that, you're on your own, buddy. I guess you're wondering why. I'm guessing you'll act like you're completely blindsided, right? Because you've done absolutely nothing wrong, and you're a great husband and father-to-be, aren't you? Well, buddy, let me break it down for you in a language you understand. I, 29F, have been married to my husband, 35M, for 5 years, and we've been together for nearly 10. On paper, everything seemed fine, but in reality, our marriage has been anything but. I've reached my breaking point, and I need to know if I'm the one in the wrong here. From the beginning, my Emile has been a nightmare. She made everything about her from day one. At our wedding, she wore white, claiming it was a family tradition. It wasn't. She constantly criticizes me, from my cooking to my appearance. I'll never forget the time she called me fat at a family gathering, right in front of everyone. And what did my husband do? Nothing. Not a single word to defend me. It didn't stop there. She has accidentally destroyed my belongings, including my grandmother's necklace, which she threw out because it looked like cheap costume jewelry. She's gone out of her way to make me feel small and unwelcome in my own home. But every time I tried to talk to my husband about it, he'd brush it off, saying I was overreacting or being too emotional. And then there's my husband. He's always on Reddit, constantly giving strangers relationship advice, which is laughable considering how he treats me. He spends more time rating women's boobs on Reddit than talking to me. Literally. And just so you know, the last pair he rated weren't a 4 out of 10. They were a 10 out of 10. Yeah. He's got plenty of time to do that, but can't be bothered to remember anything about my life. He'll forget my birthday, our anniversary, even simple things like what I'm working on or what's important to me. But he has a perfect memory for his work schedule and things that matter to him. When we fight, he becomes incredibly hostile and always throws in a sarcastic buddy at the end of his sentences, like I'm some acquaintance he can barely tolerate. And he never cleans. The house, the dishes, laundry, you name it. It's all on me. It's like he thinks being an adult is optional, as long as he's got his job and his Reddit account. The final straw came a few weeks ago. I'm 5 months pregnant with our first child, a daughter. My Emile started making comments about how she'll have to whip the girl into shape, and how she'll raise her to be tough because I'm too soft. When I told my husband that I didn't want his mother to have too much influence on our daughter, especially with the way she treats me, he just laughed it off, saying his mother means well, and that I was overthinking it. But the moment that truly broke me was when we were talking about future childcare, and my husband suggested that his mother should watch our daughter while we work. I told him I wasn't comfortable with that, especially considering how his mother treats me, and he snapped. He called me paranoid, and said I should get over it, because his mother was going to be a big part of our daughter's life, whether I liked it or not. This is the same woman who believes corporal punishment is okay. I've seen her hit my husband's nephew for the smallest things, and no one does anything about it. It's like they're all living in some kind of cult, and I'm finally waking up to the reality of what's going on. If he wouldn't stand up for me, how could I expect him to stand up for our child? I started to fear for what kind of environment our daughter would grow up in. A place where she might be belittled or bullied by her own grandmother, with a father who wouldn't do anything to stop it. Oh, and did I mention that he missed our first ultrasound? His mother needed him to help her with something urgent. It turned out to be fixing her Wi-Fi. He chose that over seeing our daughter for the first time. That told me everything I needed to know about where I stand in his life. So, I packed up and left. I'm done living like this. Oh, and in case you're wondering, I've already contacted a lawyer. You can't scare me into complying anymore, because I have all those texts. You know exactly which ones I'm talking about. So, Stefan, I wish you all the best in your future marriage. with your mother and the women of Reddit whose boobs you don't even deserve? Am I the asshole for leaving my husband after he neglected me for years, let his mother mistreat me, and made me fear for our future daughter's safety? Damn, I wouldn't want to be that guy. Let's move on to the second case. Am I the bad person for laughing in my sister-in-law's face when she DNA tested my daughter? I, 30 am, have a daughter who's 6. I am not biologically related to her at all. There is no blood relation between us. I was friends with her mother for most all of my childhood. We were never involved romantically, and were always just friends. She had her daughter at 23 with her 25-year-old husband. When my daughter was a newborn, about 3 months technically, both her mother and father were killed. I won't go into too much detail for privacy reasons, but it was workplace shooting. My friend and her husband had worked in the same building and were both killed. Both my friend and her husband had grown up with less than ideal families and didn't have any siblings, so there wasn't any next of kin for their daughter to go to. However, because I was close with them, I was able to adopt her. Even though I had been iffy about the idea of kids, I didn't want their daughter to grow up in foster care or around people who didn't have a connection to her bio parents, so I stepped in. My parents and siblings know that my daughter is not my actual daughter biologically speaking. My daughter, I'll call Lily for the post, also knows that she's adopted. I never really hid the fact that she was adopted. She knows her parents are dead and were killed by a bad man, but I'm saving the details for when she's older. Lily does not look like me at all. She looks exactly like her mother and biological dad. Most people assume that I'm her bio dad and that she just took after her mom. I don't ever really correct this when and if people assume this, because it just seems unnecessary. My brother has been with his fiancée for about 2 years now. A few weeks ago, we were all meeting up at my parents' house, and my SIL saw an old picture of me, my friend, and her husband. She pointed to my friend and asked who she was, and I explained that was Lily's mother. SIL got quiet and stood in front of the picture for a while. I didn't think much of it. To clarify, she knows my friend died, but I guess didn't know that she had been married, or that Lily is not my bio daughter. I suppose she assumed my daughter was mine, and my friend's biological daughter. My SIL got a DNA test done on my daughter behind my back. She used my brother's DNA for the test, and when it came back that they weren't related, she knew that meant me and Lily weren't related. She came up to me with the results and waved them in my face, saying that I was taking care of a dead woman's affair baby. She said this to me in front of my daughter. I just stared at her for a while before bursting out laughing at this. I told her I knew Lily wasn't my biological daughter, and that this thing called adoption exists. Her face went red, and she stormed off. My brother is mad I embarrassed his fiancée, but I said she embarrassed herself by DNA testing a kid that isn't hers, and then parading the results up to me. What did she want me to do? What was her goal with this? Did she want me to break down and abandon my daughter? My brother said she thought she was doing the right thing, and called me an asshole. I don't feel like the asshole, especially considering my SIL was the one who stuck her nose where it doesn't belong. I'm asking for Reddit opinions, mostly just for validation. So was I the bad person? Let's hear it from our members. A member said, brother should be appalled his own fiancée didn't even have the decency to talk to him about it first and let him bring it up with his brother. Methinks someone watches a bit too many telenovelas and was expecting some sort of big collective gasp and the whole family to be appalled and throw this poor motherless child into the street where she deserves to be, as she is the daughter of a whore, while the rest of the family throws SIL a parade for saving him and the rest of the family from this devil child. Throwing the kid into the street, etc., and so forth is obviously sarcasm on my part. Another user added, how do so many people not realize this is fake? Wouldn't your brother, whose DNA was used for the test, have already known the circumstances of your daughter's adoption? Why would he let her go ahead with this instead of just explaining it? The only way it would have really been feasible to obtain and compare DNA from both individuals without your brother cluing in was if she'd done it under the guise of an ancestry test like Ancestry DNA or 23andMe, both of which come in clearly marked kits. Otherwise, she would have had to explain why she needed the buccal swab required for an at-home paternity test. You can't just walk into a lab with a cup someone drank out of and ask them to compare the DNA to DNA from your daughter. Someone else said, this one seems fake. both parents being killed in the same workplace shooting, neither of them having any extended family that could take the child, glossing over the extreme complexity of adopting someone just because you're friends with one of the parents. No one in OP's extended family taking the SIL aside and explaining the situation to her. The SIL taking it on herself to spend money on a DNA test instead of just, asking someone in the family what's up. Like, I have someone in my extended in-laws family who is adopted and I know, because it was explained to me at the time. And even if it hadn't been, it would be explained the very first time someone asks, where's the mother/father? Which is something a human being would do before swiping DNA samples. To be honest, I can't tell. I guess we will have to wait for further updates. What do the members of the jury think? Is he the AH in this story? Express your verdict down in the comments section. The top comment will be posted on next week's video. Thank you for watching. I really hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe. In life, we may run, but we can't hide from true justice. Stay safe, everyone.